Good evening. Welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at diabloinkgamers.com. I'm your host, Flux, and I'm joined on the show tonight by Nerdwords.
Hello.
And by Amedon, we're calling you, right?
Yes. Or I'm you on the forums.
Wait, no, I'm you. I'm me on the
Yeah,
forums.
no.
Okay, so tell us. So Amedon, you can start off. You were on the podcast once before, I believe, right? Or did you just talk?
No, I haven't been on yet, so this will be.
Okay, so tell us who you are and what makes you important, and why we should listen to your opinions. No pressure, though.
No pressure. Well, I started out playing Monk in D3V, played that a fair bit, and then took a break and came back and tried Hardcore, and then played piles of Barbarian. And then more recently, I've been playing Crusader quite a bit and Barbarian on and off because of their sad state. And I love the site has always got great stuff and some wit on there. Figure I have to plug that, and then there's never a lacking for Jay Wilson jokes. So,
and never a demand for Jay Wilson jokes either, but you get them all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about BlizzCon a little bit later, and I was like saying, yeah, they have these big gaps in the schedule, and no one wouldn't know what's going to be. And I'm like, how about just Jay Wilson on stage for like a solid hour, just like fielding questions and doing like some beat poetry and stuff.
Yeah, I like the beat.
He can talk about what he liked about Diablo 2 and the developers on that game and how much professional opinion he has of them and stuff. That'd be awesome. I would totally sit in the front row for that and take pictures.
Well, mind you, with Jay Wilson gone, Barbarians are the stomping class that gets stomped now.
Yeah, would you actually want Jay Wilson back?
He might be good.
When he was in charge, Barbarians were awesome for like a year and a half.
And Crusaders are amazing, and that's Josh Mascara, obviously.
Yes. So we can just personalize it. Whichever developer is associated with a class, and if it's good or bad, it's either their fault or their credit.
Yeah.
So we've seen John Yang a lot. He's got one of the actually very highly ranked Demon Hunter, and obviously Demon Hunters are the most powerful build right now. So it's all his fault or credit, one of the two.
Yeah.
And we can blame Jay for Barbarians, even though he left the game a year ago. But see, right when he left, it was all downhill from there, right? So.
Yeah, it was terrible after that.
Speaking on John Yang, I really like that guy. I like what he's doing for the game and his like kind of brash personality, kind of how he just tells it how it is. I think we need that.
And he defends Demon Hunters too. So.
Yeah, he does. That's true.
Hard to complain. So Nerdwords, what have you been up to lately? You've been wizarding?
Yeah, lots of wizarding. Actually, I got a little more game time in this week than I thought I was going to, so I was super excited. Just a lot of greater rifts. Still have not found that unity. I've got one that's really nice rolls, but I need a second one for it to work. So I'm stuck on greater rift 37, which honestly I feel like I could probably clear if I got a little luckier on the RNG. I keep getting like Blood Maul as the rift boss, which FYI is the big hulking Act 5 guy that jumps around a whole bunch.
You finish it at 15:07 or something?
No, literally, yeah. Like it'll be. I'm doing just fine. I'm cutting it close, and I've got the Rift Guardian. He's up, and I've got every time I'm at the Rift Guardian, I've got the minute ticking down, and like every time I'll have like 20 seconds left. He has like a sliver of health, and then I'll get like one-shotted, die, and then right when I spawn, I kill him, and I'm literally like maybe 10, 15 seconds past the timer. Every time.
Close.
Yeah,
but at least you have a challenge to work with.
Well, it always ends up being either the Rift Guardian gets me trapped in a corner, or I'm not doing enough DPS to burn him down within the timer because I died on a ridiculous like elite combination right before it. And it's always on 36 or 37. I mean, like I've had a few snags where I couldn't even finish like 34, 35 recently just out of RNG, but that's my frustration right now is trying to get that unity because I know I can do it, man, but it's also part of the game. So.
Yeah, I didn't. I just got my first one at 400 and something Paragon, and at 36, 37, everything must one-shot you without Unity.
Yeah, I mean it really does. It gets to the point to where you don't even wear armors as a wizard anymore. Don't know how familiar you are with the class, but you just switch to force armor and throw glass cannon, even the passive on, because you're getting one-shotted by everything anyway. So why not get the DPS boost?
And this is not hardcore.
Clearly,
yes, yeah.
I mean, so what is your high character? I keep want to call you by your real name, Amedon. And what are you up to? If you have another Unity, how awesome would you be?
Well, my high character is my Crusader at the moment. My Barb just got sidelined because of the instant death. Maybe with a second Unity, I'll try it out again and see how brave I am. But The Crusader's pretty fun. I think I can probably get up to the mid-30s as soon as I get that. I mean, I have everything else lined up, so... I don't know. It still gets scary, but that's something that's almost missing in hardcore lately. Like Xanth just posted that, right? Like we're almost you don't die anymore because it's too easy. But if we start chasing the higher, greater rifts, then it really gets intense.
And are you playing hardcore or softcore?
Hardcore.
Yeah, I mean for the listeners because they don't know. So,
right.
So what's your highest greater rift in hardcore so far, and how scary was it?
30, and it wasn't that scary. But
well, you're a Crusader. No, there's no fear.
That's true. I got two cheat deaths, and one resets really fast. They're crazy.
And your Barb can do 17, but it's really frightening.
Oh,
right?
that's a little bit. Yeah, touch and go.
Probably do a little better than 17, but anyway.
Well, one fire chain and you're dead.
Well, just stay back and shoot stuff at them from a distance.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
You can just drop your ancient turrets, and they can just chop stuff, and you can just stand back and be safe. And I am with John Yang for a little while you're chilling out. And,
well,
there's no danger whatsoever.
Yeah, they can survive at least at 17. That's pretty good. But mind you, they can survive higher too. But the Barb can't, so it doesn't make any difference.
Just jump into the gambling changes. Yeah, we'll get back to. I have a whole thing about greater risk later. We get that with the exploit as well, but. So I put up a vote for what do you guys think is the biggest changes needed for gambling, and I allowed multiple choices, so there's lots of more than one vote. But higher blood shards, everyone likes that. It's 74%. At least 1,000 cap. I would be happy with like 5,000 cap personally, but 500 is just silly, especially when you're that's 5 whole amulets. What you do. And in my case, that'll be 4 rare amulets and 1 magical amulet.
Yeah,
but
that's how I feel about it right now
make
too.
it more fun. And the allow gambling for specific weapon types is 56%, and gamble costs, reduce gamble costs per item for more gambles. That was your thing a couple weeks ago, I believe, Nerdwords.
Well, I was actually talking about raising the blood shards too. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. So all that, and the one thing I put more blood shard rewards from other sources, which is actually 37%, is not a huge amount of votes, but it's just kind of boring where you get 80 at a time or 100 at a time from Rift Guardians, and then you do a bounty and get like 2.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be nice if there were other things to do in the game. Sometimes I'll play and just do a couple of do a few acts of bounties just for variety, and you're like, I got nothing for this,
that's. Can I go into something really quick based on that, because I play a lot of public games and I don't understand the need for blood shards. I understand like the void that it fills when you don't find drops and like that gambling aspect, but like when you're playing a public game and every time you finish a rift or you kill a Rift Guardian and they immediately close it. And you're like, dude, why? Like, there's plenty to clear. What are you doing? And they go, oh, I just want to get the blood shards. And it's like, okay, so your chances of finding things are literally like 3 to 4 times greater by just playing and killing things. And if you're moving at a good pace, you're getting good drops anyways. I feel like closing a rift and getting like wrapping everything up, getting your shards and stuff is just, I don't know. It feels... Because you get the shards off the Guardian anyways. I don't understand like the need for that or the reason for that. I get wanting to get shards for sure, but I don't get like people specifically farming for shards and then leaving a game. It's really strange, and I don't know if I'm just missing something that you guys could maybe help me with, but it's just, I don't know.
Well, I don't farm just for them, but it does feel like a waste if you play an hour of bounties and you've got like 7 shards, and I could have full 500 easily just from doing a few rifts at this point.
Yeah, well, I will say greater rifts, you do stack them up really high. I mean, if you're doing higher greater rifts especially, you're getting like well over 100 per rift. I know 33, 34, which I'm doing pretty comfortably at this point. I'm pulling like 120, 130, I believe.
So every 3 of those, you got to gamble. It's like I'm full again.
Yeah, and again, still only gambling rings, so it's nothing.
The lack of the whole, I didn't put it as a vote option, but the lack of a soft cap, I just find it so annoying. You'll have like 430 and you get 87 or something, and it's like then you're dribbling 17 of them around the level. It's like, can I just pick up 517 for just 1 minute?
Yeah.
And then go gamble? It's just dumb if you do that. But I mean, maybe they'll put a soft cap if they buff it to 1,000 or something. But
do you feel obligated if you like dribble 3 or 4? That since you can only get 2, so you have to go back because it's like, well, I only get 2 at bounties, so that's worth 2 bounties.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing bounties for shards, so
well, yeah.
I'm mostly doing them in public games and closing the game the second I get them. Piss off other people.
just to piss off other people.
Just don't get Nerdwords in there.
It's the best. That's
Yeah, my favorite thing on the vote currently, no changes are needed. Gambling is awesome now. That's got 2%. That's 23 votes out of 1,600 right now. So,
Jeez.
so somebody said that, probably just trolling personally, but basically everyone agrees there's some changes needed.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So you were on this. Yeah, go ahead, Norbert. I mean, you kind of plugged yours in advance before I put the vote up. I was wondering what Amedon thought about those, but go ahead, and then he can jump on that.
yeah, no, it's just it's definitely an iteration process. They're gonna have to like nail it down how they're gonna exactly do it. I think raising the cap would be a really good start. That's not gonna make it feel better probably immediately because it's still if you're gambling like one of the higher end things, which right now everything's so expensive to gamble anyways. I feel like if you're not gambling like just like armor pieces, it just feels so debilitating, and it's really silly that it does because it's kind of just an add-on cool thing anyways. But it's definitely going to need a couple iterations and probably a couple months of iterations before they get it right where it feels really good.
So go, Amedon. What is your gambling fix?
Well, I totally agree with both. I don't think they need to have a cap, or at least they could have a soft cap that's much higher. And then I'd love to have some other different options because everybody just riffs, and then especially when you don't have to do bounties as much to get like the Ring of Royal Grandeur anymore. People just do a few and then it's rift and that's it. But I mean, like as far as the like people closing it all the time, if you don't have, you know, if you don't have many rift keys, then I could see completing it. But if you have hundreds of rift keys or something laying around, then you're better off just closing it right away because you get more chances at gambling the specific thing you want, right?
I mean, to a point, but you have a better chance of I mean, 95% of the things you get from Kadala are already useless. They're just salvage materials anyways. How many thousands of shards have you spent trying to get another Unity? I know I've spent
Oh yeah, tons.
upwards of 20,000. Okay, I would have a better shot like being in a public game with a full game of people running around doing that way. I feel like maybe it just feels better because you're actually playing the game because they don't want to promote like not playing the game as the best means to find an item. So therefore, I feel like continuing to because I don't know, when you're to the point where you have all those keys, you're never going to run out of keys anyways. It's not like a matter of like running low on resources or anything like that. I think it's more just a matter of like actually playing the game and not burning yourself out by relying on blood shards. But I do understand. There's times where you're in a hurry or you did a rift or something, you want to jump out of the game real quick, but it's literally every single game somebody closes it instantly, and I just don't understand because you're moving at a good pace, you're doing well, whatever, and then you kill the Rift Guardian, and then two people port to town. Another guy's like, "Wait, are you closing?" And then guy's like, "Yep," and then clicks it, and it's just like, well, two of us are still down here. What? I don't know. It's just weird.
And it's not like Rift Guardians give you a lot of legendaries.
No, they don't give you crap.
Greater Rift Guardians, yes. Regular Rift Guardians, no.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, nothing.
I would just say grab the shards and keep going if it's a good spawn, right? Sometimes
Right.
you're in a crappy level and you want to end anyway, but
Right, but
sometimes you feel like you find a bunch right after that. It's like, oh, no legendaries. You go to the next level after the Rift Guardian, you get like 4, and it's like, well.
And I think that's the thing too is that I leave so many legendaries on the ground because of that. Like, because I just keep killing, thinking, oh, nothing's gonna drop, whatever. And then sure enough, something pops up on my map right before with 2 seconds left. I'm like, well, never gonna get it, so whatever. But I don't know. I would rather take the 100% increase to legendary drops for like another 2 or 3 minutes as opposed to like 50, 60 blood shards.
if you got some special buff from killing a Rift Guardian, like 100% magic find buff for 2 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a super bane of the powerful.
Yeah. Like if there was I don't know, if there was more incentive or if there was more targeted farming, but even so, I don't know. It feels like people are in such a rush to because all they're doing is going to town, blowing those blood shards, jumping back into a rift. And the rift is where you're finding more of your items and more of your gear and everything anyways. So why not just spend the time in the rift, use the blood charge when you fill up, and then spend all of your time in the rift as much as possible? I guess that's just the way I feel about it.
Well, they could do something like, who knows, the Rift Guardian drops like a little scroll or something and says, hey, these 10 purple mobs in the adventure mode all have increased legendary drop chance. And then you could spend the next 10 minutes finding those or something. Who knows?
See, but even then, that would be awesome. That would be like incredibly awesome. But it's the player base that's the problem, not the game mechanic. Like there's literally there's no incentive to close it early and just be done with it. Where's the incentive? Like there's nothing. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. So in my opinion, I just feel like people are in a hurry, trying to get through, and like I don't know if it feels like they're doing it faster because they close it instantly or what it is, but it's lost on me.
back when rifts were new, we used to have a lot of conversation about there should be another bonus if you got to the final, the pillar that makes you, the obelisk or whatever, the altar at the end of the rift.
That'd be
And
cool.
say, it should drop like a golden chest or something
Yeah.
before blood shards were a big deal. Back when you got like 20 of them or whatever.
Right.
And then people was just like bonuses to exploration. If you clear the whole rift out, you get a special bonus, something like that. And obviously, nothing like that ever gone in the game yet. But
They do have like if you like I do clear to the end fairly often because I solo and there's almost always between 1 and 2 elites and a goblin or something like that.
When sometimes
right
there's like
at the end.
6 more levels. Like sometimes there's
yeah.
there's 6 more levels in the rift, and that's like a lot of wasted like spawns that I don't know.
But I mean,
you
like
can always start a new one. It's the same thing. Though,
Yeah,
so.
that's very true. But I
Yeah.
mean, if it's a matter of resources, I mean, like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Like, if you're using a key, use the whole key. Don't just get rid of it. I feel like because you're still getting the 100% drop chance. Like the rift, if you're doing nobody is doing a rift to kill a rift guardian. Like that's not the goal of any rift.
Well, apparently they are actually
Yeah,
because they want the blood
seems
shards.
like it.
so yeah.
The one other thing on gambling before we get into guardians and stuff completely is the second most popular vote now is allow gambling for specific weapon types, and that's always the biggest complaint where you can only gamble for one-handed or two-handed, and if you want you want to find Reinhardt or something, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting you're getting axes and maces and all kinds of crap, and all you want are one-handed swords. So people are often saying that, but of course the whole counter argument is that there's a fine line between targeted gambling is awesome and it's too easy to find what you want, therefore you'll never get another upgrade.
Right.
So if you can find what you want too easily, then you just sort of get bored and there's no reason to gamble or look for anything because you've already got all the best gear, especially in softcore where you never die and lose anything. So.
Yeah.
So as a softcore player, if you get that last Unity, are you ever going to gamble again or what? Will you just be bored?
No, I mean, no, I absolutely would. But that's just because, like, the min-maxing, I mean, rolling, I could roll better gloves, even though I've already got Firebird's gloves. I could roll better secondary stats or whatever. Like, there's always going to be something you can upgrade and make even, like, the tiniest 0.1% better. So there'll always be something to use them on. But now, the higher up you get in gear, obviously, the less useful shards become. So.
Do you have your ideal one or two-handed weapon at this point?
I don't know.
If that changed, we're in the game now. Would it help?
Well,
you?
that's actually what
would it change your approach?
Well, that'll kind of get into a play story later. But yes, it absolutely changes everything about my build. But I'll talk more about that later.
See, I'm on the side that I think it's good the way it is. I think too often people want things too easy, too fast, and they think that that's what they want. But then as soon as that happens, then you lose all the excitement of finding things. And weapons are so powerful as far as your build goes, and everything sort of centers around that. If it was and there's 10 swords, well then now if you gamble, you have 10 10% to get the one you want. That'd be pretty easy.
I see. I think that vote even shows like another problem with the community, not the community necessarily, but also the game. That it's not so much that people want to gamble for a specific weapon, or a specific weapon type. It's that people want to gamble for a furnace, like so they want an easier way to do that. And I understand that because I'm kind of in that boat too. But at the same time, it's a bigger problem than that. It's a problem when everyone needs that one item. Now, mind you, not everyone, demon hunters don't, but I know specifically with my class, like, if we could gamble a specific item type, it would be two-handed maces, always and forever.
Yeah, I mean...
This is the man who's spent his last 20,000 shards looking for one single ring.
Yes, because I don't want a furnace. I don't like two-hand builds. I want to stay one-handed, even though I'll be gimping myself in the end.
Yeah, but you're saying it would be bad if it was too easy to look for just one particular item, and that's all you're doing. Of course, it's very hard to find that
yeah,
item.
but if
rings.
I got a Unity a week ago and hit greater of 42, 43, I wouldn't be playing the game as much as I am right now. And I'm not going to bitch about playing more Diablo. That's the point, right? So I don't know. I don't understand the argument really.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I put a note in for like later on, but like if stuff's not rare, if stuff's not hard to find, it's not exciting. If everybody has a Lamborghini, nobody wants one anymore.
Right, and like I said last week,
it's the same in video games.
Or the week before last. What I said the week before last was, even though I'm sitting at a really good gear place and I'm only looking for Unity, I kind of wish I didn't have my Firebirds yet, that I was still looking for it. I wish that the gear check took a little longer. I mean, I'm really happy with the drop rates. Drop rates are great. I don't feel like they're too high, but I guess, I mean, if you're getting full gear in T6 in a day or 2 days, that seems a bit fast. But at the same time, a lot of us have been doing this for a while, so we have a really good idea of where we're going with our gear and with re-rolling. So, I don't know. I love the gear hunt. I'm frustrated by trying to find a Unity, but it's like that's part of loving Diablo and part of the item hunt is that you're always gonna be looking for that thing, and when you get it, I mean, back in Diablo 2, when an SOJ dropped, your jaw hit the floor. That was awesome. That was like the jam. But it happened so rarely, even though it was the currency. So it was one of those things where like you hated that you had to have it, but it was fun to try to find it. So I'm okay with it being my carrot, I guess.
One other related thing on gambling is the yellow material shortage. That was an issue when they first made this change, and people were saying, we're not finding enough veiled crystals. We need more of these things because now you used to get so many of rares when you gamble when the price was a fifth what it is today. And they put in a hot fix and buffed the drop rates of those. And now I am like drowning in veiled crystals. I'm not even picking up rares anymore. I have way over 2,000 on the account that I was like under 100 before and always out of them. I'm not even picking up rares. I have easily over 3,000 picking them up. So I think they actually might have buffed that too much, but I really can't say that given that I was bitching about they were way too few in like an article and 2 podcasts.
Not even a month ago, I don't think.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They were done, and now I'm just drowning in them. So the buff was sufficient, I will say.
Yeah, I'm trying to like break myself of the habit of picking up rares because I have thousands. I just don't need them.
Yeah, I mean, I was picking up every rare, literally every single rare for like weeks, and now I'm just like I'm not even picking any of them up. I pick up rings and amulets, just for the hell of it or something. But which is which is I kind of miss it. Once you're not doing it, it's like it gave you something to hunt for before. It's like once you have thousands of gems and you've got all max level gems on your character, you don't really care. Oh, break another marquee. What you do?
Yeah.
Whereas when seasons were new, it was like every marquee was like, oh my god, a marquee, awesome. I just need 27 more and I can make the next level or something. And now it's like,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going through gems like crazy. Maybe I re-roll my jewelry way too much, but I could use way more.
I've been playing on Europe lately, and I'm not playing seasons on Europe. So I have my old account that I had tons of gems built up on and had no gold. So I was happy that I found I've got the Greed's domain, and got a boon of the hoarder. So now I have plenty of gold, and I've been just steadily converting all of them. So I have 500 Imperials of every type on this account now.
Oh yeah,
because I just had so many marquee in the old days. But
yeah,
now of course gold seems useless. It's just ridiculous. What you can run like T6 comfortably, a boon of the hoarder, it's just laughable. I mean, you pick up 20 million gold just by accident in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you don't even have to farm for it anymore. It's just crazy. So you guys are no more yellow material shortage, and they buffed veiled crystals plenty on drops. There's just tons of them now.
Yeah, I'm not having any shortages on anything. My topaz count has gone up significantly. I'm almost at max level gems, but other than that, I don't have any problem with yellow materials. I don't pick up anything anymore besides legendaries.
And not even those if the rift is closing in 2 seconds.
Yeah, especially then.
Let's just jump to BlizzCon now. We can get that out of the way instead of setting it for the last dragging on minutes. We've been speculating for the last 3 podcasts what they're going to show us, and they finally released the schedule this time. And there are only 2 Diablo 3 panels listed, and no announcements listed, etc. However, as you guys were saying before we started recording here, there are various spaces in the schedule, and fans are speculating that there's nothing on the main stage for 2 hours after the opening ceremonies. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be an empty, whistling open cavern with tumbleweeds blowing through it. There's going to be something on the main stage. They just don't want to tell us what it is yet. But there's going to be something. People are assuming it's probably going to be the StarCraft 2, the next expansion, which I thought was already out. It shows you how much how is StarCraft. I'm like, didn't they announce 2 expansions 3 years ago for this game, and they haven't done the second one yet?
If they do announce a third one, I totally called that 3 months ago on the podcast.
I thought it actually happened 3 months ago, so I'm one ahead of you there. But I mean, it's going to be something. People were saying maybe they'll get the new World of Warcraft expansion, but the next one's coming out 3 days after BlizzCon.
There's no way that's.
They're not going to announce the new one before the next one comes out.
Yeah, it's not even out yet.
So they're probably going to announce something then, and obviously unless the whole Titan closing thing was a huge deception, and they're going to have Titan Reborn here or something. Attack on Titan's going to debut, which would actually be a really good Blizzard game, by the way. That's a really cool anime, by the way. If people don't know about that one. But so what do you guys? We're not going to. Do you think we're going to get a secret Diablo 3 expansion announcement, and much to everyone's surprise, or is it going to be StarCraft 3 or what? StarCraft 2.5?
I would say I don't know. I said a while back that I didn't think there would be, that because Warcraft is coming out this year and we had Diablo last year, that it would be that it would be StarCraft again this year. So, and especially with, as popular as StarCraft is and has grown and grown and grown and grown, I feel like it's due for another expansion right now. But, and with the fact that Reaper of Souls was announced at Gamescom, not BlizzCon, so their track record with Diablo, at least in the last iteration, was not even at BlizzCon, which I would see more likely for Diablo next year, or maybe early in the year at some sort of gaming thing that wasn't BlizzCon, maybe announcing it. But that said, once you put that bird in my ear, I was like, ooh, wait, maybe that is a thing. So I don't know. Either they're, like I said earlier, they're either getting way, way, way better at hiding their releases, or there really is nothing coming for Diablo yet.
What are you looking forward from BlizzCon, Amedon?
I was.
You're not going, by the way, are you?
No, I'm not going down. I'm way.
You couldn't get your dog sled hitched up?
Yeah,
or what?
cross country skiing. It'd be weeks to get there. I'd have to leave already.
Yeah, I hate that.
The sled dogs just aren't ready.
Yeah. And you need like rollers once you cross the border. You'd go from this wall of white, and suddenly it's like you're just in snowy. You're in green pastures in Nebraska. So.
Yeah, yeah. I was with you on that last podcast. You said the timing was about right, but I don't think that they're going to announce anything big like that. Maybe, an in between, and this is what we're planning. But I wouldn't be surprised if even there's a Hearthstone something coming out too that they're,
Well, there's not. They don't have a
slotted.
Heroes of the Storm release date yet, do they? That could be another. That could be one
it
of
just
those.
went into final stages of alpha or something like that. But
Yeah, so it'd be a good time for them to announce a release date.
Yeah, lest this sounds totally tinfoil hattish, they always do this at BlizzCon. There's always the initial schedule they release is never the final schedule.
Yeah.
And they always make changes right beforehand. I mean, multiple years in a row, they give you a printed out schedule when you get there as part of your goodie bag.
No.
But that is always like three things that are different between that and what you're actually doing. The actual vision. You can get an app on your smartphone when you're there that shows you real easy to punch it up. And it always changes. I mean, there's multiple years in a row there'd be like one more or one fewer Diablo 3 panel, and they would totally change a panel. It would be announced like art and lore, and then you get there and it would be like greater rifts instead or something. So this just always happens with other games as well. So it's not at all unusual for them to change stuff, and they always don't announce it. Usually they've just had blank spaces before. It'll say panel between 12:30 to 1:30 or something, and they just won't say what it is. And it'll just be a space there, and that they either they haven't decided yet, or it's some announcement they're going to make, and then they're going to do a panel about that announcement. So that's what we're all kind of assuming they're going to announce, whatever the new StarCraft 2 or some new PvP thing with Hearthstone, or who knows what.
Yeah.
And they'll have a panel covering that topic.
Well, I mean, in World of Warcraft is their baby, and that's they're with the expansion coming out, it's going to be really Warcraft heavy. So I feel like some of that's going to account for some of it too. So.
Yeah, unlike past years of BlizzCon, where there's just no World of Warcraft anywhere.
At all.
Oh, you never, yeah.
Yeah, they're always a huge presence, but I feel like this year especially they're going to be a huge presence. It's
nice that there's more games now. Blizzard makes more games, because for years it was just three things, and then it was even some years where there's no StarCraft, the cycle of it.
Yeah.
And we get the schedule like 2011, 2010 and stuff, and there'd be like 11 WoW panels. Mm-hmm. And it was like, plus there's like all day, there's like live raiding like on some other side stage, like 8 hours straight.
Yeah.
And there'd be like this, I couldn't believe they could keep making more Warcraft panels on this stuff, and they were like people waiting in line to see them. And it was like, elf costume design with the new sparkle on the emerald on their belt. Their new tier 17 belt's got a new sparkle. And there'd be like a 4-hour wait to get in line for this. And people like, I should sparkle in a different color because I have a real elf at home, and it's this kind of shit. And it was like, who are you people and why are you here? And
that's a
I'm still a little bitter
question.
because it's a very legitimate question. Yeah. Because one year there was a Diablo 3 panel. It was not one of the main ones, on one of the second stages. And I was there waiting in front, sitting in the press section, and it was like a quarter full, half full for the seating. And there was a WoW panel afterwards, and like 10 minutes to go, there was like this huge tide of like sweaty Cheeto-smelling people just like milling around us. And they just let them all come charging in and grab seats. There were people waiting there 20 minutes before WoW started than there were for the entire Diablo 3 panel.
Yeah.
And like I had a little tripod set up, and I was filming, and suddenly there's like just like geek flesh just everywhere, just swarming around me, like climbing over the rows of seats to get shots. And I'm taking up like 4 chairs because I have a bag on one, and I have a camera in front of the other, and I was just in the press section, and there's no one else there. And there's like people just like staring at me, like, "Are you moving soon?" And I'm like, "God damn it!" So it was like 5 minutes to go on the Diablo panel. I'm like, "Get your wow that flesh out of here. But yeah, so hopefully that game will all die soon. Everyone who plays it will die as well, and that will be an improvement to the world.
But you just
I'm
opened
sure we can all
yourself
agree on
up
that.
to be pretty misquoted there. You took up 4 chairs at BlizzCon, is what I think those are your exact words.
Exactly. Yeah, there were only 114 empty chairs. But,
Yeah.
well, most people at BlizzCon take up 4 chairs, to be perfectly honest. So. Random question: do we need Torment 7 through 10 or whatever, 6 through 10, 6 through higher torments? I mean, if you're say you're rolling GR 34, 35, and as we know, Torment 6 is almost exactly the equivalent of Greater Rift 25,
Hmm.
and it's about 3 apiece. So you'd be at 28, 31. So you're doing T9 right now.
Yeah.
Is T6 ridiculously easy and just face roll through it in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and it's just become a mockery of itself now?
Yeah, actually, I would say it's a mockery. It's still fun, but my gear is just at a really good place. I mean, whenever you signed on and told me 5 minutes, I did a rift and a key warden in that time. So it
Well, to be
was.
honest, my 5 minutes for the podcast is usually about 17 minutes.
It
So
actually was like
Yeah.
6 minutes, I think, this time though. It was pretty on, but no, it's just I don't know. I don't really think we need it, honestly. I mean, like it would be nice if they retuned the torment difficulties, but I don't think like adding more difficulties is necessary. I feel like if they just like maybe up the difficulty of what is existing torment right now would be pretty cool, because like we're at such a good gear place. I mean, at least I am, and I know a lot of people are. That, like you said, I mean, especially in public games, man. Like I don't. Public games are just it's just point bright colored things at things that are running at you and it dies and that's it. It's not even legible at most times and you just get the loot.
so you would want to rescale it, like make so Torment 5 becomes like Greater Rift 28,
Would
and
I
Torment 6 becomes like Greater Rift 33 or something like
would I
that, or
want to? No, I wouldn't want to at all. I don't care. I'm happy with where it's at right now because we're always going to hit that point to where you're just steamrolling through it as long as there's gear that's comparable. But I would rather them retune Torment than add 7 to 10.
I think it's good the way it is, especially like from a hardcore side. I think it's quite good. And as long as they're making seasons at a semi-regular pace, so people aren't maxing out on gear, or they have several months or whatever to do that, and then everybody can make it to Torment 6. I think that's really good pacing. Even if it's 6 months, if that means anybody that plays a few hours a night or a couple hours a night maybe can still make it up to Torment 6 even in hardcore, and that's probably what they're aiming for, or even less. They're just trying to get people to play.
yeah, we forgot to make at our BlizzCon. They're going to announce the end of the seasons. Their joke. They have a whole panel, whole panel on seasons, and they could just walk on stage, and Wyatt Chang could go December 7th, and then just drop the mic, and they all walk
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
And then the WoW people could all come in and get the seats and wait for their panel
yeah.
about the sorceress's new emerald.
I'll say soon.
Yes, it's almost Civil Blizzard.
Yeah.
So that was a vote against Torment. So even though, but I mean, I see people doing Torment 6 in hardcore and doing it in a few minutes, and obviously in softcore you can do it even faster with better gear. And it's only Greater Rift 25. I mean, you laugh
Yeah.
at Greater Rift 25 with really good gear now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it just seems kind of silly that the only way to find a challenge is to do a Greater Rift. I mean, that's kind of what they wanted, right? Greater Rifts are supposed to be the highest level of
and
challenge.
that's why I'm
Yep,
kind of okay
yep.
with it because it's literally serving its purpose. Torment 6, well, really the regular game rifts are for what? They're for farming, and the greater rifts are for pushing yourself, and that's literally the way it's worked out. So I feel like their idea, like for what they wanted to do for it, is exactly what they've accomplished. It's just I feel like people are getting bored, and I understand that, but just slow down. Like slow down a little bit, take a break, play another game for a minute, come back. Like just take a day off.
Yeah.
But what's the point of a Greater Rift once you've got your gyms all leveled up?
To push yourself to try to get better. Like that's why I do it. I'm stuck on the same one over and over again, but I still am like trying really hard to get past it. I really want to hit 40 really bad, but I feel like I'm gonna have to have a Unity to be able to do it.
I mean, if you think like compared to what D2 was, right? Like they redo the season, and then people
Mhm.
have their Enigma in the same day, and it was
Yeah.
just like, and then they'd be clearing out players 8 hell in one day, and so it's like, well, this is much better pacing. I mean, I sure you can get into Torment 6 more so in softcore than hardcore, but then you can continue to push on past that, right?
Right, exactly.
You
And
know,
they're
if
worth
you-
and it's worth farming greater rifts too. It's not it's the gear is pretty good, but the blood shards. I mean, for those people that are closing those rifts instantaneously, go do some greater rifts. You get more shards. So.
Yeah.
You should do a wave of trials first, though. Everyone hates that
Yeah,
apparently.
and I mean,
they gotta
really should look at that. But yeah.
I actually can agree with you on that now, because the build I'm playing on Europe, I'm doing everything I can to not use sentries with a demon hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have two full marauder sets sitting in my stash. I'm wearing 3 pieces. I'm doing M4, and I've got 3 pieces of Nats on, so I've got the 4-piece Nats bonus, and I'm wearing 2 pieces of Aguadalas. I can't think of what the word is. Whatever the set is. Og heals. Why am I saying Aguadala? I don't know what that means.
I
think that's a kind of bottled water from Coca-Cola, actually.
Okay.
Anyway, Augie's set. Yeah, so I have those 3 sets on and getting the bonuses with the Rorik helping that out. And I'm doing this all cold build where I have a Kreider shot, and I have I have the Garwolf's chest piece, so I have the 3 wolves. And I have this huge horde of monsters. I'm like a zoomancer basically. And I can easily do Greater Rift 25, 26 I can go. I can do T6 pretty well with this build. And obviously, if I just switch to Sentry, I can immediately do like 32, I mean, it's just without changing any of my gear even. It's just, that build is so ridiculous, but I'm trying to do it without that. Playing more of a pew-pew style. But I suck at the waves, because I don't have a good area stuff.
Yeah.
My main thing, I'm using Kreider shot and going cold, so I'm shooting the one, whatever the cold arrow is, that shoots all the little spurts out.
Yeah.
And that's awesome against a group of monsters in one direction, because it splashes everywhere. And I'm using the, if only I knew what the name of my skills were, this would be such a better podcast. Whatever the cluster arrow, the cold one is, that shoots a thing and then it shoots out like 5 little seeking tendrils. Tentacles.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I saw my build. Everything I do is really good against a group of monsters in one thing. They all get debuffed and cold, and I have cold of the weak on, so they take extra damage when they're chilled. And I've got multiple cold sources, and I've got all these pets that tank stuff really well. And I can go in a really good sequence in a straight line. I'm not so good against elites, but I suck at waves coming in every direction. I'm like the exact opposite of a sentry DH, where you just drop down your sentries and then you just go get a coffee and come back and you're on Greater Rift 37,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I can totally emphasize, because I really have trouble getting above like 22 or 23. I get to wave like 23, 24, then I run out of time usually. But I can do multiple rifts higher than that. So this reminds me of what Monstrous was saying when he was talking about his Crusader a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. I think he could do up to 38, he said, but he can only do like 31 or 32 on waves. So then he had to go grind through like 5 greater rifts to get to his highest level. Yeah. And so I now understand that, and I've been soliloquizing about it for 5 minutes here. But do you have that problem with your wizard?
Yeah, no. I mean, I was talking about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you said your max rift is what, and what's your max wave? What's usually good?
If I'm lucky, 33, and that's if I get lucky on the wave 32. But usually,
and you said you were stuck on what, 38? Is your
it was 37 really. I've cleared 37, but right past the timer, so that's the one I'm stuck on. But yeah, I mean, but usually, I mean, I have an entire stash tab filled with 30s and 31s. So, yeah. I mean, that's 7 levels I got to grind, unless I finish them in under 4.5 minutes, which, if I do a level, I can get a level... See, here's the thing that's tricky, and what's really even dumber about it is that, like, if I have a level 30 key, I can usually finish that fast enough to jump it up to 33, 34 in one rift. But if I have a 31 key, I'm going to hit 32. There's no way I'm going to do that fast enough.
Oh.
So it's like I kind of want to hit 30 over hitting 31, because 30 I can blow through in really, really fast. But 31 is just slow enough to put me in that 4.5 minute timer so that I actually will get 1 level up. So it takes longer.
Well, as I said last time, if you can't get screwed by RNG, it's not a Diablo game, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm going to complain because I don't have enough time to play. I have like 2 hours a day tops.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have to waste another time on a Rift. And I'm also getting into the thing where people get the conspiracy theories about how 70% and 60% are actually 0% and 7%.
Oh man!
Because you're like really trying to get your gems up. I'm trying to get 2 different gems, Bane of the Powerful and one other one, to 25, and they're both in like the 22s right now or 23. And I can do like a 24 or 25 Greater Rift, and then it's like 60% chance. And other than that, I went 1 for 12 on the same gym.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
It's 60%. So I'm like, okay, this is actually 6%, and I blame Jay Wilson. I mean, I've seen forum posts about that, like people like these long, complicated arguments about how it's actually a bug, and it says 60%, but it can't be because their percentage is so bad. And of course, people get 360% rolls all the time. They don't make forum posts to tell us,
Yeah.
It's the guy who gets 0 for 9 that makes a forum post. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of self-selection there.
Well, I can say that in my experience, I've been really lucky with it. I've had like a couple fails, but I only had 3 gems to level up. That's all I really needed. I'm leveling Boon of the Hoarder now because I want to try out this gold thing you've been talking about. I mean, I have a lot of gold already from using it, but I want to try the speed bonus. But I just did Bane of the Powerful, Bane of the Trapped. Oh no, Zay's Stone of Vengeance, and the efficacious toxin. Those are the 4 gems I've done, and I'm leveling up Boon of the Hoarder now. So,
And if you can do 35, you have no problem.
but see,
getting
but
25.
see,
Oh yeah.
here's again the thing is that the only time I ever upgrade a gem is when I fail so miserably at trials. Like if I fail terribly at trials and get like a level 27, 28, I'm not even going to bother leveling that up to 35. I just go ahead and use it on a gem. But if I hit 30 or 31, then I'll actually level that up and try to do more. So I still am always running 60% chance. And yeah, I mean, like I'll fail them here and there, but honestly, like I'll have a level 22, 23 gem, and I'll be able in 2 rifts. I'll have it max, no problem.
Yeah, I haven't like leveled up a demon hunter to do my trials for me or anything, but even still, I don't like the system at all. Just like we were talking about last week or the week before on the podcast, I totally think we should just be able to pick whichever one at or below the highest we've done. The whole trial thing's just annoying.
So we mentioned the whole Greater Rift thing. There's a Greater Rift exploits that came out recently, and I'm not sure why you're not Greater Rift 47 now. Do you not have Demon Hunter friends to cheat your way through it yet?
I have a couple Demon Hunter friends, but not really. I do mostly solo rifts. I don't. I've only done. I did group rifts the first like week and a half it was out because that was when my friends and my real life friends were playing. Now I just mostly do solo in public games, and I don't do public game greater rifts because why?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
apparently the whole thing with the exploit is there's a way to time it where you start off solo and then you have friends join in with Demon Hunters, obviously, because they're awesome. And that gets you a better start. And then you have them join in, then they leave the game and then join in again later. I don't know, I'm muddling this explanation, but it was in the whole post. I did a news post about it. But suddenly there was like a 46 and a 48 cleared for barbarians on not hardcore. And they were like way above what any other barbarians were just by doing this exploit. And people were actually like streaming it and showing how they were doing it. So it's not like it's a big secret or anything. And there were some complaints about how they should, nerf this and need to nerf the ladders and nerf everything or, reset the ladders and make it fix and ban the cheaters, etc. But I mean, it's not really cheating. You're just playing the game. You're just sort of exiting at a certain time to trick the game into thinking it was a solo run instead of a multiplayer run. And so my question again to you, Nerdwords, is why don't you have Demon Hunter friends to clear Greater Rift 47 for you? Why are you farting around in the 30s and playing for real?
Because it's not about EPing for me. I just have fun playing. I like pushing myself. I mean, I don't play hardcore, so I don't get that blood curdling. Oh my god! Until I'm playing a great rift. Like I'll literally finish a rift like shaking, and I'm not even hardcore. Like just like trying to push it. It's also incredibly frustrating too. To the point where you want to put your head through the monitor. But it's I like that though. I like the competition of it, even though like I'm not doing well in the competition aspect of it. I enjoy that part of it, and I like looking at the leaderboards and seeing who's doing what and all that. So I don't know. I understand why people do it, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I definitely don't think they should wipe the whole season. That seems a bit silly, but. I don't know. It's funny you brought that up because I was actually thinking earlier when you guys were talking about barbs, I was like, man, I just saw the leaderboards and like there's a couple of barbs that are up higher than anybody on the wizard leaderboard. So how are they that bad? And then you just told me. So
Yeah, because they cheated. So Amedon, what do you think about Greater Rift cheating? Do you think it's a? I mean, it's not an esport. People have often asked it to be an esport, and Blizzard has often said it's not an esport. We have these leaderboards, but they're not. You don't get prizes or anything for them. They're just sort of there for your education or amusement. It's a way to challenge yourself. It's not a competitive sport, etc. Or should they smite everyone and ban them all and ban all barbarians just in case?
Ban all barbarians. I mean, I don't agree with it. I mean, I know I'm pretty cynical too, and I think actually we'll see lots more exploits, especially towards the end of the season when people can get up to the top of the leaderboard and stay there. To be on engraved in the season 1 forever number 1 slot, right? So people are saving their exploits till later.
Yeah, it's something Katniss talked about on the podcast previously. Like people were saying, he was like in the top 5 of Crusaders and hardcore.
Yep.
And people were saying, don't do your best thing now. Don't use your best gear. Wait until like the last day of the season, and then try to get, then break out your super secret powers and techniques.
Well, especially
So
in
I'm wondering
hardcore.
if people are actually doing that. Maybe we're actually going to see like the last few days of the season, suddenly the greater rift thing jumps like 5. That would really be interesting.
Yeah, I think people definitely will. They're for sure doing that. They're saving up all their stuff and then they're going to go for broke, especially in hardcore, because if you mess up, that's your one chance, right? So instead of risking it all now, they're waiting to risk it all when they know what they have to get. And then as far as like the barbarians go, the barbarians are pretty sad on the hardcore side, but they get to their furious charge build is what makes it work for them in that group boosting thing, because they can really clear trash like crazy, but they have problems with the elites one-shotting them, and they definitely can't kill Rift Guardians at all. So that's why that combo sort of works to boost them up super high.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing with the cheat is you have friends start with the start, and then the barb just plows through the trash mobs, and then you have the demon hunter starting to kill the Rift Guardian.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
like kill like 98% of the Rift Guardian, and then they leave the game again apparently.
Yeah, I don't think that's cool at all. Like, as far as, I know it's just for fun and it shouldn't be an esport or nothing, but, I don't know, I'd rather, see people honestly trying it rather than, figuring out what they can do to best game the system.
So Nerdwords, are you secretly able to clear Greater Rift 47 now, and you're just holding out on us? And you do almost the whole thing in like 6.5 minutes, and then you just have to exit the game, so you don't finish it in too soon.
If only.
And the last day of the season, you're just going to explode to the top of the charts.
If I had a Unity, maybe, but no.
Yeah, you probably got 9 Unities in your other stash, in your secret stash.
I have.
Yeah.
No one knows.
What's funny is the one Unity that did drop was a Dexterity Unity too, and I was like, "Are you serious? All right, whatever." So.
Well, that's what your follower can wear.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's always going to wear anyways, yeah, so, exactly. I'm hoping the next one at least rolls, because that's the other thing, too, is if it does drop, hopefully it's good rolls. But, no, I do feel like that is going to happen. But I actually have a question for you guys. If this bothers you guys so much, how do you feel about the whole Turbo HUD thing that came out?
Why don't you just detail that for our listeners who might not know about it?
Well, basically, I don't remember who the streamer it was that talked about it, but I know that it kind of exploded on all the forums at one time about people that are using, like, HUD add-ons, some of which that are pretty straightforward. They just kind of like give you little extra tooltips, DPS meters, that kind of thing. But other ones that actually like reveal the map and let you know elite affixes before you see them, things that are coming up, so people can jump in a game and like find like conduit shrines and stuff and exploit that to get to greater rifts, which again is another exploit. There's a lot of outrage from it, and I get that completely, but at the same time in Diablo 2, map hack was like almost industry standard. So I feel like if people had it and it wasn't like a bannable offense, it wouldn't be quite such a big deal. But until it is, it really sucks.
Well, I don't agree with I guess the part of the heads-up display that shows where mobs are, especially the elites and affixes, because I think that's what makes it kind of exciting and whether you're going to make it or not.
Yeah.
But the other numbers I don't think have any impact really. And I don't have. If somebody wants to see how much DPS they're doing or how much experience per hour they're getting, that's fine to me. But at the same time, like, they're trying to limit their RNG of their greater rifts, right? And then one of the other things that Blizzard put in was to sort of screw you with RNG with like conduit shrines and various density, like the famous zombie rifts, like greater rifts and stuff like that. And so people are just making 50 keys to try to get the rift with the conduit shrine next to the Rift Guardian, stuff like that. Is that an exploit then?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where do you draw the line? I'm with you. It's I don't know. I'm not for it at all. I don't use it. I actually didn't even know about it until they posted about it, and then I actually considered getting it, but then I don't want to get banned. So it's one of those things where, I mean, like I said, with Diablo 2, you had some stuff like that where you could run map hacks and stuff like that. And I know I ran map hacks in Diablo 2 for my sorceress magic finding all the time. So I don't know. It's one of those things where almost a decade later, it's pretty much the same thing. But in Diablo 2, we didn't have this competitive leaderboard where you were competing, for times and stuff. So it was a little different. It's I feel like before it was really useful because a lot of people used it, I guess, for testing and stuff, especially learning like what abilities boosted what and how they all work together and mesh together and stuff. But now that there's like a competitive place, like a place to test yourself against what other people are doing and what you can do and the difficulty of the game, it does feel a little cheap.
I mean, it could help if some of the people may just use it for numbers and stuff like that, seeing what's my DPS, whatever, and it could be related to that our DPS, toughness, healing numbers are all just sort of arbitrary, and sometimes they're completely wrong. That people are trying to figure out ways to say, well, how much is our group doing, or how much am I doing, or am I doing more or less, even though I'm 30% lower on my DPS thing.
Right.
People who say they use map hacks just for the numbers are like people who say they buy Playboy just for the article.
Yeah.
The drive to continue pushing your character when you've got every piece of gear that can already help you. And I'm getting really bored with the build I'm playing on Europe. It's as good as it can be with the current skills, and obviously I'm kind of giving myself by not using Sentry, and probably at some point I'll give up and just accept the dark side, and then me and John will be besties again. But that's John Yang, of course, because he's a demon hunter, evil monster.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I would just like, there's nothing I can find now that's going to upgrade me. I mean, I can get a few points better here or there, and I've if I hadn't gambled the last 7,000 shards and I got a single legendary amulet the whole time, obviously there's a little room for an upgrade there. Although I recently did find a somewhat better amulet than I was using. But it's not. There's no big changes left, and I find this character kind of boring now because I'm not going to change my weapon. I'm not going to change most of my gear, etc. It's just sort of what I have. And I look back and remember what in the old days, and I remember playing Diablo 1. I got to level 50 with a rogue and a wizard, and multiple level 40s over the years of going back into it again. And that's once you're past like 35 in that game, you never change anything. I mean, you have exactly the same skills. You might change one item of your gear, but probably not. And I was perfectly content just grinding endlessly just for really minor amounts of experience that I could have reproduced in 2 seconds with any easily available cheat that had no security whatsoever. But for some reason, that was exciting and satisfying to me. And then Diablo 2, I had multiple 99s and just played tons of the same character. And you couldn't change in Diablo 2 because there weren't any respecs back in those days,
Yep.
And so now Diablo 3, you could change everything anytime you want, and yet I'm getting bored by just doing the same thing for a brief amount of time. And people like Nerdwords here, who's been, you've got the same gear forever, and you're just trying to find your unity. It's still exciting to you. So I guess it's just a state of mind. You just, even though you're not really improving, you're happy to do the same. You say you're on the same rift forever,
Yeah.
So.
I just switch up what I'm doing. I mean, like, I don't know. I'll take a break and just do Ubers for a while. Like, I don't do Ubers for the amulet. I'm hoping for a good one, but I just like killing giant bosses. I don't know. Especially with Firebirds, it's disgusting. I burn through Ubers on T6 like it's nothing. So, I don't know.
But you're not really changing your gear or your build around. You're just happy with what you have, and you don't
Well,
mind doing the same thing.
I mean, I do. I have different builds for different difficulties. I mean, up to Grade Rift 32, I have certain pieces I wear, and then past that, I have certain pieces, and then once I hit 34, 35, I switch things around. So, I mean, and I'm always like, everything I find, if I find, comparable pieces of what I'm wearing, I'll kind of min-max, roll some stuff, enchant some stuff, and do, like, I've been looking for a Unity, right? So I've been looking for it for a while.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier,
Yeah,
I think.
and I've mentioned it for like 2 weeks now, and I'm still looking for it. And I've been using the two-handed sword Maximus for a while. I had a really good drop on that, and I gifted it. It was like 3,700 DPS, over 1,000 int, and then I had the socket in it too. So it was pretty good, and it was 20%. It was perfect fire damage on it too. And it was
So you min Maximus.
yeah, precisely. But yeah, so like I was doing pretty well with that. I thought it was a pretty good weapon. Obviously a furnace would be better. But then night before last, I had a Sunkeeper drop that rolled perfect elite damage on it. It was low, like 2,200, I think, DPS, but then I rolled percent damage, got up to like 2,400 and gifted it. So now I switched from a two-hander build into a one-hander and offhand build, which allowed me to free up a Firebird slot. So I've been kind of messing with, either wearing Mage Fist gloves instead of my Firebird's gloves, or a Larix helmet instead of Firebird's helmet. So I'm always kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to do some T6 riffs, so I'll wear Larix with a Ruby in it to get some bonus experience, get my Paragon levels up, for a little while. Or, oh, I'm doing, like higher greater riffs, so I'll wear my Firebird set because I have more vitality on the gloves. They rolled like 720 vitality on them. So it just kind of depends on what I'm doing. I mean, I have like belts and amulets that switch out all the time. I have Krelm's buff belt that I wear because, for those that don't know, Krelm's buff belt, buff belt, it makes it to where you gain, I think it's 25% movement speed above the cap if you haven't taken damage in 5 seconds. Well, there's a wizard skill called Galvanizing Ward that gives you a shield if you haven't taken damage in 5 seconds of up to 81, that absorbs 81,000 damage. So essentially, if you don't take 81,000 damage in 5 seconds, you haven't technically taken damage and you keep that movement speed buff. And then that plus Boon of the Hoarder, plus I'm already at max movement speed, plus teleport with illusionist, which gives me 25% more movement speed. it's stupid fast and so much fun. But when I'm doing greater rifts, I need String of Ears for the defense, so I don't roll Galvanizing Ward. I use a different skill, and so it's like I'm always switching stuff up. It's I don't know. I just have fun kind of mixing up my abilities and my gear and kind of tweaking stuff here and there.
So you say that gear stagnation is a lie
Basic. I mean, now
for you anyway?
mind you, all yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily a lie. It's just
No, it's a lie. It means you're not looking for enough gear and you're not switching around. So you obviously you can overcome it if you want to.
you can because there's always 1,000 other builds you could do. I mean, you could switch to Marauders and then it'd probably
1,000
open
other
up.
builds?
Maybe not 1,000, but a lot of other things you could do. But it's just
So
I don't know. I feel like I've been there though. I've gotten to the point where I'm like frustrated and burnt out and just doing the same thing over again. But I'll just take a day or two away from the game and come back and play it. I'm fine.
so where do you come in on the whole gear stagnation and min-maxing to the top there, Amedon?
Well, for me, I guess like I'm motivated by finding stuff, and that's sort of my goal. And then I love trying different builds, like not just variations of one build. I do that too, but I've tried 6 or 7 builds on the Crusader. I tried everything on Barbarian preseason and a couple of them on seasons. And I just that's one of the things that stash space is such a huge annoyance for me because I have backups and then I want to try all the builds, and so I got to try to find this item and this item and this item to fit it all together. But then then you might need these pieces with these rolls in order to make it work, and so trying to fit it all in is just a nightmare. So that's kind of what keeps me playing. And I think like there's so much variation. People salvage stuff like instantly, and I'm like trying to see what in the future could I do with this piece with these kind of rolls.
Yeah.
So it makes me a pretty bad hoarder, but I think it's fun to try all sorts of builds. And then
What would you pay for extra stash spaces?
I would. Yeah, I think I get more than enough entertainment value out of the game compared to nearly anything that if I go to a movie for $12, that lasts 2 hours, I get tons more out of Diablo. So if it was $5 for a stash space or 3 character slots or who knows what, doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I don't understand why they don't do it. Maybe that's they got rid of what the auction house that was supposed to sustain it, right? And now people are saying they want to pay for it and they won't.
Maybe that'll be in the Diablo panel after they mentioned December 7th for the season's end. They go $5 stash tabs and drop the mic tab and walk off.
Yeah.
So any other topics for you guys? We're kind of getting close to our time limit here. Anything you were dying to bring up we didn't get to?
I have to plug. You mentioned it last week, I think, when you're talking about like the key bindings and like left and right click. I totally agree, and geez, if anybody else hears it again, maybe it'll happen. It drives me crazy that you can't bind stuff to left click or right click, and make it more easy to use.
Yes, I mean the shortest version of that. Just put force move on left click, put your whatever skill you want on right click, and then you have 5 hotkeys. That's all you need.
Yeah, that sounds. I'd love that. Like, I mean, it's got
not
a whole
some
system.
huge hack or anything. It's just not having to waste a skill on left click because left click operates a lot differently than the right click and then the keyboard buttons do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right.
And you can keep using it the way it is now if you want. No one's forcing you to use 5 hotkeys on the keyboard. It's just for people who want. And it really only matters to me with melee builds.
Yeah, no, it happens
don't-
all the time with melee. Like I have to use shift. Like I have force move bound to like my space bar, and so sometimes you don't want to stand in things, so you have to use shift and space, and instead of just having it on left click, just be and then you'd have one button to make yourself stand still. It seems so much smoother.
And the annoying part to me is that if there was a UI mods available, we would have had that like May 16th, 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the day after release, it would have been like, okay, this is dumb. I want to have a different hotkey system. And it would have been there. And the developers are like, this is the one thing we're not going to allow in this game. World of Warcraft has 8 million UI mods, and they didn't want that in Diablo 3.
Yeah, you can bind any.
It's like
key
we're
to
going to tell you
anything.
how to play it. We're going to tell you how the controls work, and you can't change it. And if you don't like it, you can go play something else.
Yeah, it's
long as
it's
it's
even
parsed.
in the list of keybinds, but you can't. It's grayed out. It's like, oh, we're teasing you that maybe you could have done it. Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the announcement at the BlizzCon.
Force move. Drop the mic.
Yeah.
So do you have any final thoughts here, Nerdwords?
I mean, we touched on pretty much everything. I'm really excited for BlizzCon to see what's coming, and hoping that get to see some of the developers out and about on the floor. But aside from that, I'm still, I don't know. I have a hard time harping on a game that I've been playing since 2012. I don't play any other game that long, ever. So it's just there's a lot of like obviously nitpicky things, shards and gambling, all that stuff, whatever. They could be improved, and we'll take some iteration and stuff like that. But I feel like if you're getting burnt out and people are frustrated, just take a day or two, man. Like it's okay. It's not going anywhere. You can come right back, and you'll feel a lot better for it. Don't burn yourself out.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, since season came out, people have been playing way more than ever. So, yeah.
And it was like that in Diablo 2 as well. It was like, everyone got amped up and ramped up, whatever, and then after a month or two, it would die down, and then everyone would come back when the new season started. And that's okay for the cycle of life for Diablo 3, I feel like. I just, with the next expansion, obviously, it'll reinvigorate everything again, so I'm excited. I'm ready for Season 2. Hopefully they can get some of those bugs that happened in Season 1 out of the way, and we can have a more legitimate race to the top and a little bit better competition on the leaderboards that is a little more even, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you guys both seasons, and are you both more Paragons in seasons than before seasons?
Yes, I am seasons softcore, and no, I'm actually not. Ironically, I'm 317 on non-seasonal and 302 on seasonal.
How about you, Amedon?
I am playing seasonal as well, but I haven't made it past my non-season, but I'm getting there in probably a lot shorter time. But I mean, drops are quicker. I didn't spend a month or 3 months in, Torment 1.
Yeah.
It's got to Torment 6 in a couple weeks or whatever, probably. So.
Okay,
Yeah,
you've been listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at diablo8gamers.com and moo.